Good morning, people. Here we are once again. This time I'm not as tired as last time because I finally slept a little bit better. But in general, tired is kind of like my default setting. So yeah, I just have to live with it, and I guess for this video, so do you. Well, first mix for today is by Lindsey. Okay, he even put in some 3D graphics for kind of video. It's pretty cool, but it wouldn't have been necessary. So if you had fun doing it, then more power to you. Okay, right away, the whole volume balance is kind of off. The intro guitar is at a good level, and then when the big part hits, it feels like the whole volume kind of drops. So it's lacking a lot of energy by comparison between these two parts. The rhythm guitars could be high in volume, quite a bit actually, but I suspect it would make more sense to work a little bit more on the frequency balance and then simply to boost the volume. But I'll check that in a bit with my trusty headphones. Okay, then that little in-between part where you only had the guitars, you could hear the guitars are too scooped in the upper mid-range, so they don't have a lot of presence to really sit well in the mix, and they have too much lower mid to low end range, so you kind of want to do this kind of curve. So I hope you get what I mean. Yeah, the guitars have too much low end going on and they muddy things up a little bit, and the bass is masking the low end thump of the kick. So all you can really hear from the kick is the mid-range click going on. So that means you gotta work a little bit on your frequency balancing, just some EQ work. Again, between kick and bass, you want to make sure you get a good EQ separation by filtering at the right point. But the vocals sit at a good spot, volume-wise. You can kind of compare it already to the drums, and you notice the vocals have just the right level going on. They are not completely on top of the mix, they are not completely buried, so that's well done. You see, that guitar track has the right volume level, but then the other rhythm guitar tracks, the main rhythm guitar tracks, I need a bit more EQ balancing, so they sit better. Okay, the solo is a bit too roomy. It's too far behind in the mix, so that could stay a bit more up front and present. Okay, so overall it's not a bad mix, it just needs a couple of EQ moves and then you're good. Next one is by Ferro. Ah, nice, you included also your settings in the video. It's a nice touch showing me what you actually did. Okay, first impression, this is a solid mix. I don't have a lot to complain about it. The only thing I would address at this point is the rhythm guitars sound a bit harsh and scratchy in the 3 to 4K range. But you could chuck that down again to a more stylistic feature rather than an objective problem. So I'm not gonna weigh that too much right now. But otherwise, it's going good so far.
I'm running out of breath. I'm running out of steam. I'm running out of space as a pain.
I kind of gotta be careful that I don't get distracted too much by the video. I want to focus more on the sound, not what you do.
Back and forth in this blasting machine. The lion rests his head. The lions all are dead. The lion can't be tamed, can't be shamed into serving the masses disease. Oh, we're getting loose.
Okay, here in that part I noticed the harsh upper range from the guitars do make a little bit of a problem because there's not a lot of note definition now at this part, but note definition is kind of important, especially for this part, because you only have low notes going on the lower strings, so making those stand out properly and really make them audible, make them into intelligible notes that you can really distinguish and hear. You need less top range harshness, more mid-range definition. Wait, let me go back a little bit to check the low end. Yeah, there's some slight mud going on in that lower mid-range, upper bass range, so around 200 hertz-ish. Yeah, well, it was a little bit, the whole low end was a little bit foggy. The kick drum had its thump down there, so it wasn't really masked too badly. That was okay. I suspect it's the bass guitar again. I've heard a couple of mixes so far where people seem to have a little bit of trouble with the bass guitar. Again, a tip I would give is keep the low end of the bass clean. So duplicate your track. Wait, did you duplicate your track? Yes, you did, but I don't know how exactly you processed them. Maybe you still show it in the video, but maybe I will miss it because I will be focusing on the sound more so than your settings. I also think the room mics from the drums have a bit too much in that lower mid-range going on. Those room mics like to get a bit muddy, especially with the kick hitting away, so I would personally address that 200 to 500 hertz range. I suspect if you would dip that down, it would already clear up quite a bit more. Okay, here too, between vocals and solo, there's a good equal presence going on. Though I think both could be perhaps the B higher, but otherwise nothing gets really masked in this situation. So that's well done. yeah, overall, I think this is a good mix. It's also one that's more the rougher sounding side, but that's totally fine. It's just a few tweaks it could benefit from, like, as I said, rhythm guitars a bit less harsh upper range, a bit more mid-range, give it a bit more definition. And then vocals and solo could come up just a little bit. And room mics, perhaps a little bit of a dip in that lower mid-range, and perhaps also the bass guitar, just to make sure it doesn't get too muddy in that lower mid-range. Otherwise, yeah, you are on the right track. As you said yourself, you're also more of a noob, so I'd say you're doing good. Alrighty, this next one is by Hyde, Hyde. Okay, so far this is really solid. In a little bit I'll be checking the low end. I suspect at this point the low end of the kick might be masked too much. But as always, in my room with decent monitors and decent room acoustic treatment, I still can't trust the low end at all. So, but we shall be going on from this point again.
I'm running out of breath. I'm running out of steam. I'm running out of space as I pace back and forth in this blasted machine. The lion rests his head. The lion's all but dead. The lion can't be tamed, can't be shamed into serving the masses' disease. Oh, we're getting loose, then we will be completely unstoppable. Oh, just wait, the time is coming soon for us to break out of this cage.
Okay, the bass guitar has a really great rumble to it in that 100-150 Hertz range. But as I suspected, the low end thump of the kick is a little bit lost. But it doesn't really sound like the bass guitar is really the culprit here. It sounds more like the kick drum could just use a little bit more boost in that lower range, like 50 to 60 Hertz. And then you'd be good.
Did I get here? What has led me to be docile? How could I have let these bars be placed around my heart and soul? Oh no, it's become my only home.
Why am I picturing a transformer right now? The transitions into big loud parts hit really nice. You've done that well. Okay, here it sounded like the solo was fighting for the same frequency space as the rhythm guitars. So what I like to do lately, and it's helped me a lot to make the solo stand out properly, is automate an EQ on the rhythm guitars to duck down around 3 to 4K, like 2 to 3 dB. And that way you open up some more space for the solo to sit there. And I think there was a bit too much reverb on the solo, so it also pushes it a little bit further back in the mix, and that makes the solo, and that makes it tough for the solo to really stand out. Yeah, overall, this is a pretty good mix. It's really just minor things. It sounds very rich and powerful without pumping in any bad way, and it's nice and bright and clear without being harsh. So, yeah, you are definitely on the right track there. Next one is by Antonio Maglia. Overall, this sounds very solid so far. There are no deficiencies that I'm noticing.
I'm running out of breath. I'm running out of steam. I'm running out of space as I pace back and forth in this blasting machine. The lion rests his head. The lion's all but dead. The lion can't be tamed, can't be shamed into serving the masses' disease. Oh, we're getting loose. Then we will be completely unstoppable. Oh, just wait. The time is coming soon for us to break out of this cage.
Okay, also the low end is pretty solid.
Did I get here? What has led me to be
Okay, the ending was cut a little bit short. Otherwise, this is a great mix. Seriously, it's good job. Good job. And we are already at the last mix again for today by Mathieu Halloin. I hope that's how you pronounce that name. Otherwise, you'll see your name in the video description anyways. So if I'm mispronouncing it, please accept my most humble apology. Okay, right away the mix as a whole sounds pretty good. It's just the rhythm guitars. It's again one of those styles that is too scooped and scratchy in that upper range. I've heard that kind of tone a couple of times now on several mixes. It feels more like a kind of death metalish, black metalish tone. Stylistically, it's your choice, of course. So I don't really want to say it's a bad tone in that way. But what I do want to say is you gotta make the proper mixing decisions. Ask yourself, does that kind of tone fit for this kind of music? And since this is more of a hard rock song, I'd say it doesn't really fit. I don't want to say it's a bad tone, but for that music, it doesn't really do what's required. I kind of want to say. Let's go on. Okay, hi-hat is also too loud. It pops out a little bit too much in a harsh way. Okay, the low end is pretty good. The kick is not masked. I feel like the bass guitar could just be a little bit louder to fill up the low end a little bit more. And something about the snare. Again, one of those things I don't want to put my finger down on it. It sounds like you sample enhanced it. I did allow sample enhancement, but not sample complete replacement. Again, because you want to make logical mixing decisions. At least what I'm hearing is that snare sounds a little bit unfamiliar to me. And also at times a little bit too monotonous. That's what's making me think perhaps you used some additional samples. Okay, the vocals, I think are a bit too roomy the whole way through. It puts them a little bit too far back in the mix. It's kind of weird. It feels like there are two mixing styles clashing together. The snare and the overheads sound very bright and upfront and more modern, I kind of want to say. But then the kick and the vocals and also the bass guitar, they sound a bit more old school rockish. Yeah, it feels like it's a touch disconnected. Especially the kick could benefit from more high-end click. I think then it would fit with the rest of the drum mix a little bit better. Okay, this point there's a bit too much of a volume drop in the rhythm guitars. If you would make the solo a bit louder, again, solo and vocals want to be at the same level of presence. If you would make the solo louder, then you wouldn't have to drop the volume of the rhythm guitar so much. And also again for you, the tip, automate an EQ to scoop out a little bit of the 3 to 4K range, and then the solo will have enough space to sit there. Okay, overall it's not a bad mix. It works. Everything is audible, nothing is maxed in a bad way. It's just stylistically there are some things that could benefit from more appropriate choices. That's about as diplomatic as I can say that. For example, as I said with the kick drum, a bit more high-end click to fit better with the rest of the drum mix, and vocals a little bit less room and more clarity, more upfront. But otherwise, it's a solid mix. It works. Let's put it like this. It works. Okay, and that's it again for this video already. As always, I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time.